I really think back in the beginning, like I really didn't know what I was doing most of the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, there's a hard day, right? But then when I talk to the actors, they are the one like cheer me up and make me smile again, even though I was so busy and I was crying in the back,
Welcome back to Alicyn's Wonderland, where we go inside the world of animation and video games. I'm your host, Alicyn Packard. I am so glad you are here with us today. We have a very special guest, a woman who is just a legend in the anime community here in the States, responsible for casting some of your favorite dubs of all time. So please welcome Mami Okada. Hi, Mami.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers. Yay.
It's Friday.
Yes. Thank you.
I know. I mean, you are such a legend, and I've been hearing your name for, since I moved to Los Angeles, probably about 20 years ago.
Wow.
And, hearing from Johnny Young Bosch and some other people, just like how influential you've been in their careers. And to see them shine at such a great level. I've always been so curious to meet you. And then I think it was last August in Dallas. I remember I was headed to the One Voice convention to talk about, I think I was talking a little bit about dubbing and voice acting. And you were also a guest. And I remember we were just wheeling our luggage. We must have been on the same flight. And you were with your husband, Kelly. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman just has like the coolest essence and style. And like, I don't remember what you were wearing, but I was like, oh. And then we sat down. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Are you Mami? So nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was so funny that we were, on the same.
I know.
Yeah, but also was comforting, like, of course, she's an actress. She looks like one. And then, it was so great to, have that company right away.
Totally.
Yeah. It was my first time visiting Texas. And
it was.
It was. And then still like the only time so far. So yeah, it was such a memorable experience for me to be there. And then the first person I met there was you. So
it was so fun. And I remember, Jay Michael and Hugh, they just throw such a great party.
Yeah.
They really put a lot of thought and care. And if anyone's thinking, I think actually right now through May 31st is the deadline to enter for the One Voice Awards. I definitely recommend it. There's no charge to enter, and there is no charge if you win. There's no charge for the award. So, if you have some good content voice actors that you want to submit, I definitely think it's worth it. Got a couple over there. Yay! It was so nice. Yeah. So I'm really curious your trajectory in getting into anime. I mean, I've heard a little bit about it, but can we just start at the very beginning? Can you tell us about your childhood?
Yes. Wow. So I grew up in Japan, and it was a very small town. So, but for some reason, since I was young, like I discovered movie, and then I always wanted to come to Hollywood. And originally wanted to be a movie director.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, before movie director, I actually wanted to be someone who does those special effects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to create these monsters and, doing makeups and all that. So that like got me like realize, oh my God, there's a career like that.
Yeah.
So I think I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I've always like wanted to come here in the States, which was very strange at the time because no one around me would ever think of moving to the States or getting into entertainment industry. It was such a small town.
It's crazy. I also grew up in a small town, and I don't know what it was that put the acting bug, but it was always California, the land where dreams came true. And I'm the only one from my family that ever moved out here. And so, but I think there's something inside your heart that just draws you towards storytelling.
Yeah. So I always loved like drawing or reading picture books. And I think there was a phase that I was into acting, like I wanted to be an actress on stage, you know. But it was really like when I discovered about movie industry, I wanted to study English. So, I didn't speak any of it. My family still doesn't speak any English. All of my family is still in Japan too. So, yeah, I don't know what happened to me, but suddenly, like, I just wanted to go to the States and pursue career in entertainment.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so did you go to college in the US?
Yeah, so, like I studied English as I was growing up, but still like in Japan, everyone study English for at least 6 years. But because of the way they teach at the time, especially, you can read and write, but you can't speak or listen,
Got it.
Yeah, so it was very hard. So I had to like study additionally to be able to actually talk to someone. And then I decided to study abroad, basically in a community college. So it's 2 years. So I kind of convinced my family, like, hey, it's only 2 years. And it's so much, financially affordable than going to Japanese college for 2 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I convinced my family. And I think I kind of knew, and they kind of knew that I'm not going to come back to Japan.
I'm getting goosebumps as I think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The seed has been planted.
Yeah. So then I went to a community college in Orange County called Orange Coast College.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they had a film and video production major.
Oh.
So then once you complete the 2 years, you get the visa to be able to work in the States for 1 year. So I was going for that. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
So smart.
Yeah, so then kind of since then, I got the visa and I immediately started interning. So for me, it was somehow, I kind of always, again, knew that real life experience will speak louder than my academic degree.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't go to 4-year degree or anything like that, I wanted to be in real life situation, meeting and working with professionals. So even though I barely spoke English, I just started interning at different places.
Where were some of the places you interned?
Yeah, so the one that I've been there for the longest was a company called Moviola, which was an editing company. So yeah, so they were in Hollywood. I don't know if they're still around, but so back then they were
like around Avid, time of Avid.
Exactly, yeah. So when I went to college, they were transitioning teaching film stuff to digital stuff. So I got to actually learn both. So my student films actually in film, but they were okay, literally. Editing digitally and then submitting digitally. So before it was all film production. So a lot of veterans who were in film industry were learning about all the digital stuff. And then Avid was coming out, Final Cut was coming out, Pro Tools were coming out. So then it was at the school that all the professionals will come to and then learn about new technology. So I was interning there for a while. And in exchange of my time, they will let me use the $250,000 system for free. Yeah. So like I would edit my own projects on Avid.
Do you still have those projects? Like, are they in a form that you can watch them?
So I have them on VHS.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like a fun evening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it was, it was fun, a lot of fun. So yeah.
Streaming all our college student films.
Yeah.
I got some funny ones too. And then, so when did you start at Bang Zoom?
So Bang Zoom
you interned there, right?
Yeah. So basically, after college, I was still interning different places, and I was at a company called Tokyo Pop. So they were targeting specific like Japanese culture. So they were putting out like manga, music, their dramas, and all kinds of like sports from Japan. So I was working there as a like editor, video editor, and doing coordination, like coordinator. So they were getting into anime production, and I have already left the company, but I was invited for the holiday party. So that when I went to the holiday party, Bang Zoom CEO Eric Sherman, he was there as well because he was dubbing their first anime title from Japanese to English. So then I met him there, and then he said, he has the company and he was looking for interns. So I was trying to, at the time, get into film production. So literally doing PA work and on-set kind of work. But it was going slow, so I had the time to do internship. And I think also 9/11 happened right around the time. So everything was, a lot of production company went down, and then era was changing basically. So some of the company that I was working for, they stopped producing shows. So I had the time to intern with Eric. So then that's all.
I've heard wonderful things about Eric. Christy Reed was on the show, and she was talking about how she really got her start directing over at Bang Zoom. Such a small world.
So Christy, and then we worked together for many, many years.
And
awesome. So happy to see her career taking off.
I know.
And
she took on the Emmy this year. Go, Christy. She's a big inspiration to me. So you kind of started on the ground level then with Bang Zoom.
Pretty much.
Had they hadn't been around much longer before you came on board.
Exactly. So Eric and founder Kaeko, so ex-wife, they started a company, and before they were helping Japanese like production company to do filming in LA. So they were bilingual. So but then they got into dubbing because Eric is a filmmaker. So they acquired this Japanese content and they wanted to dub it into English. But back then, those productions weren't done to distribute overseas. So all that language, that dialogue and music and everything was married. So for them to dub into English, they didn't have what's called an M&E, like a music and effects track. So they usually need to create that in order to produce
all of it.
localization.
Produce all of it.
Wow. But back
work.
then, Japanese companies they didn't produce those things. But Eric being filmmaker, he was like, well, I know how to recreate music and sound effects. So they cut the holes in the soundtrack so then they can dub it into English and fill the hole with the newly added, sound effects and room tone and all that stuff. So then they made this English dub of a Japanese film, which did better, I guess, than they expected. So then the distribution company acquired anime series. So then like, hey, Eric, you did great job on the last one. Would you want to dub this series? So then that's how it all started. And then one after another, and anime was taking off. I think at the time, anime was around, but people started recognizing anime as what it is now.
What a difference we've seen in the past 20 years. I remember, it used to be maybe a friend had a VHS and it would be like some pirated thing you'd be watching. And now it's just everywhere, especially the last 5, 10 years.
It's been like so much difference. Like since I started too, but anime was really taking off. And then since then, like Eric and, Bang Zoom we've been busy pretty much the whole time. Yeah.
And the company's really grown. I mean, you started with one recording studio. How many? Is it 3 now? Already? 2 or
Yeah,
3?
so when I started, we didn't have our own studio, so we were, moving around different recording studio in around Burbank. So I was literally borrowing the phone, the studio lobby to call actors to schedule.
Yeah, because we didn't have cell phones.
Exactly. So mainly like I was calling actors and writing their schedule down physically on the notebook, kind of situation. So then since then, we acquired our own studio space, but we are still like, sharing with other companies. But now we have 3 buildings in Burbank and have about 50 plus staff full time. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And how many projects are you generally working on at the same time?
Oh my God. So as a company, we've always had, I don't know, 30, 40 projects at the same time. But granted, not all of them are dubbing or recording. Some of them are subtitling only, or so like small to big series. But all together
And features.
Yeah, exactly. Features, video games. So all different projects. Definitely like around 30 happening at all times.
Wow.
But
That's
they
such
are in a
volume.
different stage of the production. And then like I probably touch 8 to 10 projects a week, maybe 4 to 5 projects a day kind of situation. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And so you started as an intern. How did you make your way into casting?
Yeah, so when I was interning, I realized I didn't know anything about audio or anime for the matter. Like I didn't watch anime when I was growing up. I was
so
just
funny.
watching Hollywood movies, right? So
Yeah, the thought never occurred to you to go make movies in Japan. You're like, Los Angeles.
But when I was in college, like a lot of people would ask me like, oh, you're Japanese. Do you like this? Do you watch this? Do you watch that? And I was like, I have no idea what that is. But I realized as I was working on it, it's very similar to film production because there's writing phase, there's casting phase, recording, and then the post. So for me, it was very easy to understand the flow of the whole dubbing process. So I was doing everything, from talking to clients to shipping to going into the editing room and working with the editor or, so for me, what mission was to complete the project. And then the middle was the casting. So our former casting director, she will give me the cast list and I would be the one.
The Japanese cast list?
So it would be English cast
English
list.
cast list.
Yeah,
so she would tell you who is coming.
Yeah, so she will basically cast, listening to Japanese audio and then cast English actors. Again, back then, it was a very small pool of talent who would know how to do this. But they were all great actors. And then she'll give me the list and I'll be making calls. So I knew exactly who were coming in to record that episode or that show and what voices they did. Because in the end, I need to go back to the lab to lay down. So it was all tape back then. So I had to watch real time the completed episodes in English. And then I've already watched it in Japanese. So I knew exactly who were coming to voice that specific role, down to man A, to townsperson, to background, to the main characters,
and
of course.
Give me your old guy, and then give me your little boy, and then,
So I naturally learned the actors' range, what they are good at, and then who are coming in to play this type of character, or who are coming in to play bunch of different characters. And you won't be able to tell the same person that all these voices, but I knew because I scheduled them, So that's how I kind of learned about actors' range and what they can do. So when the casting director went into maternity leave, I kind of filled in that position. So I kind of naturally started doing the casting to basically help flow the production to complete it. But then, I kind of fell in love with that particular process. And, I really think back in the beginning, like I really didn't know what I was doing most of the time. And sometimes, there's a hard day, right? But then when I talk to the actors, they are the one like cheer me up and make me smile again, even though it was so busy and I was crying in the back,
Oh,
but the actors are the one that would always cheer me up. So I always love working with actors. And then, to this day, I still get surprised when I'm listening to auditions and like, oh my God, I didn't know this person can do this kind of voice. So it's always fun. So I really love this process.
How do you approach the casting process nowadays?
So it depends on the show that I'm working on. But so the casting, it's pretty much still the similar process, especially if I'm working on anime. It's still very kind of a unique acting, of course, skill.
Because it's technical.
It's very technical.
Marriage between the art and the craft.
So, there are a lot of actors who are wonderful, but when they have to do the lip sync and time code, you kind of need a skill. And then, when the director's asking the actors to slow it down, speed it up, you're talking about 1/10 of a second. So that subtle adjustment is a skill, right? So as a casting director, I'm still, responsible. When I bring someone, the directors expect that they are able to do that lip sync and ADR work. So I still like to go to my pool who I know that they can do.
Because otherwise, are you generally bringing people in off the first audition?
Yes.
So you're taking a gamble if you haven't worked with someone that hopefully they know how to sync. And
So when I bring the new actors into my pool, it's usually a process because I'll start out auditioning them and listening to what they can do or what kind of ideas and range they have, and I have to be familiar with their voice and their range and what they can do. And then I might be able to find right fit.
Like a supporting or a smaller
supporting
role.
or guest roles, so that in case it doesn't work out, no one gonna, it doesn't affect anything. So
you're not recasting a feature film.
So it doesn't affect with our schedule or anything like that. So then I can start bringing on and then get a feedback from our director, how they liked working and how did they take the direction. I sometimes sitting or observe the session with them as well, and then start going for the main character's audition. So I will throw in this new person in between all these veterans and people who's done leads and leads and leads, and then the client will pick that person with all these fantastic actors, but they'll still pick that person. And then now I know, okay, it's not just me.
There's something
thinking
there.
This person's great. So then I'm able to confidently recommend all these big titles. So that's how it usually goes.
And so how true do you try to stay to the tone and energy of the Japanese actor?
So definitely, we try to be faithful because especially anime fans are very, very picky, So, and then I also want to kind of preserve the quality of why they love it in Japan, why the fans love the show in Japanese. So I want to try to retain the quality. So it is important to have the similar tone and energy, but that's it. It's never a voice match. So if if the voice is a little different, but the actors portraying the characters so perfectly, I'll probably go for that person rather than sound just like them, but then lacks the originality. Like
Yeah.
sounds like they're mimicking the Japanese voice and performance
Mm.
rather than owning it and making their own. So
Mhm.
it's still very believable.
Mhm.
So that's more important than finding an identical voice match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there really is an art to it. And not necessarily anywhere you can go to learn other than on the job.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe now
exactly.
there's like some more workshops and stuff
Right.
for dubbing. But
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
remember the first show I dubbed was actually an English to English show,
Ah, really?
Poppycat, but they were doing British voices. It was
Yeah.
originally,
Mhm,
and so
mhm.
we were dubbing for English. So it made it a little easier because the lip flaps were very similar.
Right, right, right.
But you
Mhm.
get the experience of having to take the timing of the emotion
Mhm.
and the beats
Yeah,
and make it your own, and
exactly.
it's being able to still be rooted in the character and bring that natural in the moment
Mhm,
energy, but
mhm.
then also be aware of the technical. The more you can, I think,
Exactly.
feel it and be
Mhm,
connected to the character on the screen, it kind of helps too, because you
mhm.
do get to see their like eyes and their emotions, and so
Yeah,
you become one with them, hopefully.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, again, in a way, it's a different approach, I think, as an actor too,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you are already listening to original performance, but you kind of have to take that as your director and then still need to create your own character and
Yeah.
it has to be your own emotion because
Mm-hmm.
if you just try to sound like that person,
You're
audience,
mimicking.
yeah, audience will know immediately
Mm-hmm.
that they are just listening to fake emotion.
Yeah.
um, audience now are so much more educated. They've seen all kinds of contents,
Right.
so we can't fool them.
Mhm.
It has to come from the within, your emotion. So
Yeah.
I think when you're working on dubbing, you kind of have to have that switch that, how you're gonna make it your own and
Yeah.
not be bothered by, oh, but I'm doing the exact same thing as original
Right.
actor.
Or
You know,
trying to make it different
yeah,
just for the sake of making it
exactly.
different. One
Yeah.
skill I think that's super helpful with dubbing is just the skill of improv,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
improvisational acting, because it's going so quick. And
Yeah.
for our audience, may or may not know, a
Mhm.
lot of times you watch the scene once and then you start recording.
Yeah.
So you're not going to know, you don't usually get the script in advance. You're just
Exactly.
watching it once and having to fully embrace that
Yeah.
emotional
Mhm.
connection within a minute. And so
Yeah.
improv, I think, is a really good skill for anybody that wants to get into dubbing.
I think so too. Yeah. So whenever I get to have opportunity to coach new
Uh-huh.
actors or someone who hasn't done anime before, I try to say in a way that keep those like different emotions, but have it in your drawer so that when you're working on anime, you have to be able to open the drawer and grab the emotion
Mhm.
and go immediately because you're not gonna have a time to warm up and think about the
Right.
backstory and you are in and director will say something, the beeps, and you are
It's
going. Yeah.
not theater.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you might be coming into season 5, episode 11, and then
Mhm.
suddenly you're having to play this super emotional scene for the audience who's been following from season 1. It's a very, very important scene, and you coming, you have no idea about the show,
Mhm.
and you're seeing that scene for the first time in the booth with clients and directors on top of you, and you have to be able to get into it. So it is a very kind of like a quick, spontaneous acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a real joy to it, a real excitement too. But
Yeah.
part of the best part, I think, that performing that voice
Mhm.
actors don't always get is that satisfaction of seeing your work and connecting with the audience, because
Yeah.
we
Mhm.
kind of work in isolation,
Mhm.
hopefully with a director.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I mean, with dubbing, almost exclusively with a director. But how has it been? Suzume just recently
Yeah.
came to the theaters.
Yes.
Were you there for the premiere? And
So
I think I saw some
I missed the premiere because I was
Okay.
in Japan.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, but I got to see in the theater
Uh-huh.
with bunch of other actors and directors together. We went to local theater, which is so nice to be able to go to your local theater and see your project in big screen.
Yeah.
Which is such a treat.
Dream come true.
Exactly.
And I want to get into that too and all the changes that we've seen over the past 20 years. But what was the reaction like being in the theater? I mean...
So it was very surreal, and then also not just the casting, but when one of my role is to watch down the episode before our producers and clients watch it.
Oh, so you'd see
the cut.
So
I do see it, and then because I'm not there every single minute when they do record, so once all the recordings done, I work with a mixer, and then we sit in the studio and watch it down, and then we do our notes. So
you wear so many hats. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I actually do this role that technically and creatively, I do my own notes so that hey, lip sync, little off, let's move it, or let's add more reverb here, or let's pan it, or let's check other takes because maybe there's something that's a little bit softer, So I do that process once. So naturally, when I'm watching our own shows, I'm starting to take notes. But in the theater with everybody there, I have to let it go and I have to just enjoy as one of the fans. And then that's a really kind of a wonderful experience, in a way. So I just kind of, just breathe and let it go and then enjoy it as if I'm seeing this for the first time.
Wow.
So when I feel that the fans' reaction and audience is reacting in the way that I hope they would, it's so much it's satisfaction.
Yeah, that's truly such a gift.
Yeah.
And with the rise of anime, we'll probably be seeing even more and more theatrical releases. I mean, definitely there was a number this year.
I think the trend is going to be more theatrical
Demon Slayer, which you also cast, Demon Slayer the movie.
Yes.
That show is huge.
Yeah. And then I'm really surprised to see the audience, young to old, they all come, and that's also been nice to see, to actually see the audience and meeting the fans. And
And I know you go to conventions and attend them. And also, I don't know if you're doing this post-COVID, but prior to COVID have done open casting calls.
Yes.
So what's that like?
Yeah, so actually we are doing one again this year.
Wow. Tell us all about it.
We are going to Chicago in a couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we have been doing this open casting for a long time. We used to do in LA, but that has become too big. And they became to this point that we just couldn't manage our own because literally hundreds of people would come.
Wow.
And then it was just this whole event. So we just told ourselves you know what, let's stop this once. So then we decided to take it to Chicago Convention, which is a little bit smaller than LA. So it's more cozier, a little bit more intimate feeling. So we've done that 3 years before pandemic, and then of course we had to stop. But now this year we are coming back. Yeah, so a lot of current actors who are playing lead roles in anime miniseries, I've met them through conventions and open.
Christina V.
Exactly, Christina V. And
she talked about her experience. That's so amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
She's so talented.
Yeah, so and then Zach, who is lead in Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
And then also Nezuko, she was also coming through from open casting call. So, there are so many actors and...
Were you struck by their talent right on the spot?
Exactly, yes. So my problem is I always like too many people from the casting call. And then I have to narrow it down because we can only meet so many people as a callback, or when we go to Chicago, we have to pick one person in the end, which is very, very hard. Very hard. But I always meet way too many people that are like, let's work together now. Yeah. So, but I know that there are many hardworking, aspiring actors, and they just need the affirmation that, no, you are doing good. Because I think otherwise so many people would have given up, or they probably pursue different career from, oh, it's not realistic, or it doesn't, it's just a dream kind of thing. So I just think sometimes they need that little affirmation, because I know for a fact that there are so many aspiring actors out there that have career in this. So yeah.
And it does take a long time. I mean, I think I moved to Los Angeles in 2003 and started pursuing voice acting shortly after that. And, it took a year or two to even get my first job. And then after that, it was, just a couple jobs a year for a while. And it just, I think one of the things that I've noticed the most is like, just keep going and don't give up, because your career is going to have ebbs and flows. The industry in the past 5 years has changed so dramatically from going in and being able to meet casting and have that personal connection and hear what people want and be able to adjust your read to now 98% of auditions are from home. And I'm starting to go in more for sessions, which I love.
That's great.
But the art of self-direction has become a bigger and bigger piece of what we do. Do you have any advice for actors who are needing to self-direct?
Yeah, so I mean, to me, like, self-directing is pretty much everything, because again, like you said, auditions are all self-directing, right? So again, it's a little different approach, I think, if you're working on video games, the original animation to anime. But if I talk specifically about anime, I think most of the casting directors or studios will give you little clip of the videos, or maybe at least tell you or share some kind of voice reference.
Sometimes.
So yeah, something, right? So
or the project, maybe the project's already on the air and you can watch
it. So if the show is already airing in original language or based on some kind of comic book, you'll be able to find some of the information. So I think it's great to do some research and then also take anything and everything as your director. So if you are given a video clip, I always ask them to really pay attention to what's happening in the video. So how the character is standing, making fist or relaxed, are they sitting down, are they outside? So it's really like as if you are the person in that scene, and then act as if you are reacting this whole movie. So because with self-directing, those kind of subtle direction that you get, the music, the little tone of the scene,
the proximity of the other actor. Hey,
exactly. Yeah. So that's all in there in your video. So really pay attention to what's happening. And then just, own it. You don't need to worry about timing for the audition. So you can freely be yourself and be the character. That's more important than trying to match the timing for the audition. So.
And what about when you get audition sides that are very limited, where it's just a line and maybe an emotional note, but we don't know what the other actor's saying? What advice do you have for people when they're not given much information?
Yeah, so that's a tough one. But again, hopefully, you are given some kind of image or some kind of description. If you have an idea, especially when the scripts are so short, I think it's okay to give variations, but always put the one that you think this is it. as a take one, But
Hopefully they get to.
yeah, give some variations and also even the subtlety, play it subtle or play a little bigger, you can play with it. So I think shorter the script and then less information you have, your opportunity to show what kind of ideas you have.
What you can do.
Yes, I think just take it and then give a little bit of variation because most likely on the casting end and the producers and we are having to choose someone from such a little information. You would want to know what else you can do or what if this was longer, what's going to happen. So we are wondering, it's a quite nerve-wracking thing to cast someone from such a little information. So more range you can give is usually the better. So
maybe including a second take with just something a little different, just to show them.
I think that's great. I think that's great. So whenever I'm having to cast someone from very little information, I definitely take a listen to other samples that maybe you've given to me in the past. So in case this character develops bigger or darker or comedic way, I can definitely recommend like, hey, listen to this take or this sample that this person did. So then that's the way that I can convince our producers to, go for that person. Yeah.
Do you find those are the most difficult roles to cast or has there been any role that you recall was very difficult to cast?
Yes. There were quite many that I can recall. But often, and they are often, thank you so much. Original shows that are usually more difficult to cast because
like prelay animation.
Yeah. So basically, the actors creating the characters from scratch, and then often that's the same way for our producers and creators. So they have a great ideas of what the characters would like to sound, but then not until they hear the auditions it comes true. So, and then sometimes they know what they don't want, but then they can't express exactly what they want. So getting out of it from the producers and translating it into the direction to the actors, that's also challenging. Nowadays, I've worked with enough creators and different people, so I'm more likely to be able to get into their head and then translate that direction to the actors. But definitely early on, it was hard process when the creators like, not that, not this, but somewhere in between. But that could mean a million different things. Yeah.
And then how do you narrow who you even bring in or have read?
Right. So, or maybe they'll hear the first round of auditions and then they don't like anyone. So then I need to redirect or bring in new group of actors, but then they're not giving me that specifics. So I'm just now like worried that second round of auditions gonna be something that they don't want to hear it again. So getting out of them and then, that would be always
very
challenging. Yeah.
And how many actors do you bring in, let's say, for if there's a new series that casting for the series regulars for each role?
So again, if it's anime, let's say anime titles, I'm gonna be probably targeting specific requests. So I'll send, I want these actors, maybe to about 20, between 20 to 30 actors. So it's very rare that I'm taking kind of blind auditions. So of course, agents would recommend me a few of good people, but again, because it's very specific things. So I usually kind of go for the specific 30 actors per role. Yeah.
Wow. So that's not too many. I mean, I know sometimes Disney will say, we were on that panel,
Yes.
and they were mentioning that they bring in sometimes 600 for a role, which makes
Yeah.
it very difficult.
So yeah, when I do like let's say very high profile video games, and I'm just asking agencies to please submit someone that fit this kind of role. From among with all these agencies that we get around town, it will be hundreds, like
Wow.
400, 500.
Is that overwhelming?
It is, because sometimes, the runtime just to listen to one character goes up like 2-3 hours of just listening to the same read over and over and over. So it gets kind of exhausting for sure.
Sounds exhausting. Yeah.
But a lot of time for anime, I'll just go directly. So yeah, that part is nice. But definitely when I'm casting for wider net, it could get hundreds of people. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and then I've heard from other casting directors that sometimes it's somebody that does something a little different that gets the callback because it stands out.
Yeah, definitely that's true. So, especially the agencies that we work with, they are all good. Their talent, their clients are so good. So honestly, there will be so many qualified actors in that bunch. And for us to narrow it down, it's very hard process, because I'm sure so many people can actually do a great job when they get cast.
Yeah.
But as a casting director, we have to narrow it down and make a short list. So when they give something different ideas or different quality take, and I often, again, tell the students when I have a chance to coach is, believe it or not, out of all these 400-500 auditions, maybe 60-70% you would feel wall-to-wall dialogue. I'm just talking, right? But then when you hear the moment of breathing, sighing, taking that moment to take in.
Thinking.
Because that's what you do for emotion. Like when you are speaking out of your heart, you will have that breath, have that moment. So then when you're listening back to back, and then like that, suddenly this air, the moment, the breath, that is like really, you stop and like, I would actually listen, So I've been kind of saying that, like that technique or, that little tip a lot, but then I do still get a lot of wall-to-wall auditions, or people tend to talk fast. So, really take your time, feel the moment, and then I think your audition will definitely stand out. So,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen so many changes in the anime industry over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about where we've come from and where we are now?
Yeah, so it's a whole different industry almost. So, when I started, again, it was very small pool of actors that were doing dubbing.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those, they are taking the job in between the real jobs, because a lot of them are on-camera actors. So in between their real on-camera acting, they will come in and do the voices, but a lot of them didn't want to use their real names. So then they will have a different show name for that particular show. So having to kind of work around, and especially I think also from union point of view, it was kind of forgotten category until very recently. So it was under theatrical that not many people, even in the union staff, knew how to handle this particular genre.
Yeah, because it was more live action foreign dubbing versus...
So it was like, more, it's a voice studio work, but then it's under, theatrical thing. So then it was very kind of a unique genre. So definitely overall industry felt like it was kind of something that was attached to the whole entertainment. Like nobody really wanted to
Detached.
detached from the whole community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from that, and then
I mean, there was a long time that agents would tell voice actors avoid anime if you can.
Exactly. So then, but the people, reality, the actors didn't have enough work, and they would rather perform than take other, waiting
or just
table.
wait. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait around for the next audition or gig.
So, compared to taking a regular part-time job, it's still paid.
And how fun.
Yeah.
How fun is it? It's acting.
Yeah. So, a lot of people wanted to do it, and then so they were having to kind of hide, that they were doing it, but, they needed to do it. So then, we were very respectful. So, of course, if they get another job, we would move our thing and then reschedule, our recording sessions. So having to kind of work around like that, and then gradually I started to hear people actually saying that, like, no, I want to do anime voices.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would you? Like, if you go for other things, you get paid more, you get respected more. Like, why would you? Like, do you know the rate for anime? So then I would.
Was it because they were anime fans?
They were anime fans, yeah. And then also with the rise of social media, people started to realize the anime community is one of the most vocal and active group of people on social media.
Dedicated.
Yeah, so then actors who were already doing anime, they were getting very popular on social media scene. So from other actors, they thought that these people were making so much money.
Yeah,
and,
Adam
all these
MacArthur and
things.
going to conventions.
Yeah. So then like many times like they will come and tell me that they want to do anime, but then when they realize how little it pays compared to all the big shows out there, they're like, oh, never mind, So then we had this like awkward, era that a lot of actors wanted to do it, but I had to be like, honest, like, well, this is what it is. And then if they were still anime fans, they will continue to do it. But, it was kind of like in between people who loved it would do it. But then there's this like kind of false reality that maybe they're making so much more money and all that stuff. And then to the point that literally all these young people that they just wanted to do anime and games, and they really didn't care about anything else. So I started meeting these people and then realized when I looked at it, majority of the young actors were like that. Like they wanted to do anime. So yeah, that was a very like refreshing air. And then now the time is whole different. So a lot of agents support it, and then unions support it. There are a lot of work out there, and people can talk about it proudly. So that's really nice, because it's very hard work to dub something, and it's art. You do need to be good actors to be able to do it. So I'm glad that the whole art is being recognized now. Yeah.
And where do you see the future of anime going?
I think it's going to be more and more mainstream. So it's already happening that,
we see Disney has a new anime division.
Yeah.
Crunchyroll acquired Funimation.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be only more popular and more mainstream, so that it's not just those anime fans only that know about anime. I think it's going to start to influence other part of entertainment as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, same here.
Well,
Mm.
Mami, thank you so much for coming and chatting
Yeah,
with us
thank
today. This has
you.
been really enlightening and great to spend a little bit of time with you.
Oh,
So,
same here. Thank you so much.
oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for watching Alicyn's Wonderland. We'll be back next week. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. If you've made it this far, you might as well. Then you'll get tuned in. There's a little bell button, and that will help you get alerts every time we post a new video. So do it. See you soon. Bye.
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 Bye.